that I will say, I want you to know that I'm thrilled with this award. Thank you very much, Ms. Hawkins. I would like to thank all of those people at the North American Writers Society for considering me for this award. I am honored. It's a pleasure for me to accept this award. Actually, a huge surprise and a great pleasure. First of all, I want to thank John Grisham, Nelson DeMille, Chris Everett, and Andre Agassi for encouraging me on this project. Sometimes it is difficult to look at one's life and see it as a story others will find interesting. I also want to thank Doubleday Publishing and my dedicated agent, Chris Burleson, for taking a chance on me. I understand, Chris, that you're working on a book to movie or a book to TV special with my book. How is that going?
Good. I'm in talks with ABC and NBC right now in production. I think the discussions are quite fruitful.
And who do you think is going to play me? Don't say Phyllis Diller.
I was thinking more Cameron Diaz.
Okay, well, keep working on it. You're a good agent. Of course, I also owe a great deal of gratitude to my editor, Sue Bowe, for her insightful suggestions along the way. Also, thanks to Dorothy Hawkins for designing the cover, unflattering as it may be. I think the cover of my book is quite good, actually. She spent a lot of time on it, and I think it will attract readers as they go through the stacks and Borders and Barnes and Noble and wherever they might shop for books. You see that it's very tennis oriented, so I'm sure a lot of tennis people will be buying the book. My story, A Menace at Tennis, was truly a labor of love as I reviewed my tennis career. Of course, what brought me to prominence in the tennis world was beating Maria Sharapova in the U.S. Open this year. Yes, it seemed to be a fluke. Sports writers suggested she did not take me seriously, as I'm old enough to be her grandmother. My favorite headline was From Grunts to Groans. Rani defeats Sharapova in the finals. Love that headline. My story has many twists and turns as I tell all about playing on the tennis circuit. I include a lot of salacious tidbits of gossip heard in the locker room. I think it is those inside details that have made my autobiography a bestseller. What I want you to know is, like a lot of tennis players start very young, particularly the ones that are on the circuit now. They're hitting the ball by the time they're 7, 9, 10. I did not take up the game until I was in my mid-30s. But what I found out very early on was that I have an addictive personality. So I took up the tennis, loved the game, just loved it, and realized that I was an addict, and wrote a story about it, which was published in the Cincinnati Enquirer. Tennis is the master and she's the slave. I came up with this story because I was reading an article about are you addicted to alcohol or gambling? And I inserted the word tennis for all the addictions that they mentioned. And I thought, son of a gun, I'm addicted. I was playing 4 and 5 hours a day, every day. I was even playing in my sleep. And the questions were very insightful. Has your husband threatened divorce, name him McGregor, Wilson, Dunlop, and the entire staff of the indoor courts as co-respondent? He did. He actually did. Does tennis cause you to have difficulty in sleeping? Yes, because I'm playing in my sleep and my arms are going like this, hitting my husband left and right. After a loss, do you ever feel like taking a bite out of your opponent's leg? You better believe it. I was a very poor loser, and I had to learn to be a gracious loser. It took me a while. My ego was tied up into this game, but I got over that eventually. I reached the point where I thought, as long as I'm playing well, that's all I can ask of myself. But it did influenced my family considerably. I still had 3 children to raise. The youngest was 10, and I pretty much put them second in tennis first. And I had a bumper sticker that said, happiness is tennis. And underneath, I don't know which one of them did it, one of them said, so you can see how things were going in my house. But what's interesting is in the development of this is my current racket, when I took up tennis, the rackets were that size. So you can see that the equipment has changed considerably, and this isn't really the biggest racket that you can play with. So in tennis, as I've said probably before, size does matter. Well, as I was getting more and more involved in the tennis world, I also started coordinating some of the players of the day. Now, you guys are also damn young. You might not even remember these players.
Thank you.
How many were alive for the Bobby Riggs, Billie Jean King match? Oh, thank you so much. That makes me feel good. Well, that was a big deal in its time. And I got together with some of the players of the day, and we put together a cookbook. And a friend of mine took some of the recipes and decoupaged this tray with my picture in the middle, because the newspaper came out and interviewed me. I sent them an article and said I was going to have a party for the Bobby Riggs, Billie Jean King thing. And so the recipes have a name like Sudden Death Cocktails, Billie Jean King Crab Dip, Wimbledon Burger, Double Fault Salad with sliced tomatoes, Ham Bobby Riggs Flambe, Peaches Gonzalez, Lace Carrots Nastasi, and Margaret Court Tor. Those were just a few of the recipes from the cookbook that I put together. This is cheese. September 12th, 1973. None of those people are playing anymore, but I still am. So, my book goes, I think it has been selling very well because it is pretty prominent that I have included some tasty tidbits from the locker room. And while people may not be interested in me as a player, the fact that I did meet Maria Sharapova was of interest. And if you want to find out how I did it, buy the book. I will be signing at Barnes & Noble tomorrow, and you will get a 15% discount. Mr. Joseph.